Hi, I am A.F. Winter, and this is Confusional Arousals. I read somewhere that it is useless to collect china, furniture, or books because your kids won't want them. I don't have china or nice furniture, but I do have books. They are scattered all over my house. Some of them I have been dragging around with me throughout my whole life. I think if I ever moved without taking my books, I could fit my entire life in a Mini Cooper. In episode 43 of this podcast, Theories, Part 2, I talked about an old friend, Gary, who returned a book I gave him over 40 years ago, 2 years after he died. When the book arrived, I looked through it, searching for notes he may or may not have written to me. Our friendship ended with a whisper. Ghosting, as the young people say today. But not really. Life just presented other challenges that were less related to each other. After a moment, 20 years had passed without a word. I have many people in my life like that, people I really cared about, people who changed my life, but now they only exist for me in my memory. Gary's book is now sitting on a bookshelf with 1,000 others. As I said, I have been holding on to some books for 50 years, and many of them have messages written to me from long dead or forgotten people. Even if those people are still in my life, our relationship has changed over the years. I started searching for those kernels of truth from long ago. I'd like to share some of those with you today. The idea for this episode started when my youngest daughter visited me. I was directing a show around the time of my birthday, and she decided to come down from Jersey to visit me and see the show and to help me celebrate. My eldest daughter, who lives near me, lent the younger one a book because she was a little light on reading material. The book was named Piranesi. I told the youngest daughter that I had another book by that same name. I grabbed it, and she read the inscription. Christmas, 1979. Dear Adam, I hope you like the books and cards. Have a nice vacation. Good luck with URM. Let me know if everything goes okay. Please call so I know if this package got to you or not. You don't have to talk to me. Just tell whoever answers the phone you got it. R. There's so much in that short note. So much hope and sorrow. Most of the sentences were short, as if the writer was trying to keep control of her emotions. The longest sentence had a tinge of desperation, as if she wanted to have some connection with me, but I was not willing. I don't remember what the U or M refers to. My daughter asked me who R was, and I had to think about it. In 1979, I was studying in England and seeing a girl named Robin. I told you about Robin in an earlier episode of this podcast. Her mother read tarot cards and predicted I would meet a horrible end if I continued to date her daughter. I think she was connected with an English crime family, so I knew she could disappear me. Somehow that didn't scare me, and I continued to see Robin. A few months later, she showed me pictures of her trip she made to America. She was draped over a guy. I asked her if he was an old flame. She said yes, looking sadly at the photo. I asked what happened to him. She told me that he just stopped coming around. I took a closer look at the guy, and he looked a lot like me. I mean a lot like me. So, This crime family princess was trying to find a replacement for a guy who was most likely taken out of the picture by her psycho mother. I told her I couldn't see her anymore. She started crying, and I was quickly shown to the door by her two brothers who looked like enforcers for the mob. I learned from that moment, if you were going to break up with connected women, make sure you do it in neutral territory. After my daughter returned home, I realized that R was not for Robin, but for Rose. Rosemary was my first real girlfriend in college. We fell in love while working tech for a student-produced one-act festival. I think there were 5 shows a night for 3 nights. She was calling the show, and I was running the sound and the lights. By the second night, we were making out and paying very little attention to the show. I believe we were late for several cues. She was a beautiful, kind, and talented woman, and I probably didn't deserve her. But most people in love make terrible choices. We met in our sophomore year at Stony Brook. In our junior year, I went off to study in England, leaving her behind. I have made many, many stupid decisions in my life, and that was one of them. So, I had a taste of the world, couldn't be tied down to one gal, had to sow my wild oats. That's a stupid expression, isn't it? Sowing your wild oats. Which originated in the 16th century. Its earliest recorded use was in 1542. It is an agricultural metaphor referring to a vina fatua, a worthless, hard-to-control weed that looks like real oats, representing unproductive, reckless, or promiscuous behavior by young men before settling down. Well, whether it was a stupid expression or not, it described me accurately in my late teens and early 20s. Anyway, I came back from my European escapades and broke up with Rose, thinking I was too sophisticated for her. Stupid, stupid me. It was a bad breakup, and we did not treat each other nicely. I was probably crueler, but I do not doubt that she landed a few solid punches as well. So, getting back to the book, Rosemary gave it to me the Christmas after we broke up, which showed her kind and generous spirit, wanting to see how I was, wanting to have a connection. A couple of months later, she was seeing one of my friends. He didn't let her go, didn't take her for granted. He was smarter than I was. I think they are still together, and I hope they are happy. Human relationships are complicated and messy. I have come to realize that I am not good at figuring out messy things. So if I ever start spouting words about love as if I had a clue, please turn off the episode. The second book I'd like to talk to you about is my Lafayette High School yearbook. Yearbooks are not for the weak of heart, and I would suggest not taking it off the dusty shelf unless you are with someone who cares and supports you, or unless you are completely alone and have steadied yourself against the approaching storm of broken promises you have made to yourself and others, completely plastered, or holding a nice cup of sleepy time tea to calm your nerves. I guess that covers just about every instance in human experience, so I think I could go on. This year is the 250th birthday of the United States and the 50th anniversary of my graduating from high school. That should give you an idea of how old I am. Although, I won't tell you whether I was so clever in public school that I skipped several grades, or so stupid that I was left back several times. Ha! I remain a mystery. Although I am an old mystery, uninteresting to most people, like collecting goatee prints china, or furniture. The first thing I noticed while turning the pages and looking at the still hopeful faces of youth was that there were a lot of people who didn't like me. I was miserable in high school. I was threatened almost every day because I was Jewish, so I came up with a very effective coping mechanism: humor. When people would threaten me or insult me, I would make a joke about how much worse I really was than what they had just said. They would laugh and walk away. This was both good and bad. It protected me from bodily injury, but it forced me to put up walls, which kept the goodness and joy of human connection out as well. I became immune to all feelings, only they would break through every once in a while. In my senior year, I went to a party. I rode the bus to a friend's house and cried in the back row all the way there. My loneliness was crushing me. When I got to the party, a friend asked me if I was all right, probably noticing how red my eyes were. I said, "Even a clown has feelings." She left me to talk to one of her normal friends. I should tell you that this was before I had even heard of the 1892 Italian opera Pagliacci by Ruggiolino Cavallo. Ugh, why do I even attempt pronouncing non-English words or names? I apologize to anyone who can speak Italian, anyone who loves opera, or anyone in the world who needs an apology right now. I am sorry. The leading character in the opera, a clown whose wife is cheating on him, sings an aria directly after discovering the truth, which includes the phrase, "Put on the costume and laugh, clown." Nobody wants to see your pain. We just want to see you perform like a trained monkey. I like that opera. Cheerful. Ritchie is now a well-known and well-respected Hollywood bigwig. He was also a classmate of mine at Lafayette. We were in plays together. There was also something called a Sing, which is a performance competition between grades. The grades wrote, directed, designed, built, and performed a play about the school. It was very important to me when I was there. Being that it was 1976, the 200th anniversary of our great nation, we wrote a play about that. I played Benedict Arnold, the evil villain, of course. Ritchie, I don't remember what character he played, but he came on in a puff of smoke. He was the spirit of something or other, probably the voice of reason in the piece. I do remember he was very good. In my yearbook, he filled a whole page with praise for me. I think I forced him to do that because that's what he said in the note. He also said that I taught him to enjoy being on stage and not to take himself so seriously. At one point, he wanted to give up acting, but I convinced him to keep on going. Now, obviously, I do not think I had anything to do with his future success. You have to have a lot of talent and drive to make it in show business, although I can't swear to that statement because I have never made it in show business. I was destined for another path, it seems. But I think we all have the ability to nudge someone in a more positive or negative direction, and that little bit of influence which we have could make a tremendous impact on a person's life. And we could do that every day with everyone we interact with. That is really cool. In my life, I've been blessed to have crossed paths with some pretty successful people. Actors, writers, comedians, theater artists in general, visual artists, musicians, and even a few business people. And it seems that whether they were happy or sad about their lives had very little to do with how successful they were in their careers. It had mostly to do with who they were as people, how deeply they loved the people that they loved, how freely they gave of their talents and abilities to others. I could be totally wrong about that happiness thing as well, because I've never been all that happy. Now, the most embarrassing note in my high school yearbook was the one I wrote to myself. Let me explain. I had a series of crushes on girls starting in junior high school. All of them were out of my league. But I was amusing, and so they let me hang around. One of them had the initials of DB. I was madly in love with her, but she was involved with a guy who was a few years older. He had already graduated from high school, had a car and a job. I decided to go for broke, and my plan was to confess my love for her in her yearbook. I was not very good at thinking my plans through. So there she was, surrounded by a swarm of guys lining up to sign her yearbook because she was one of the prettiest girls in school. They probably all had the same master plan as I had. Anyway, we swapped books, and I wrote the most beautiful declaration of love. Romeo had nothing on me. I smiled slyly, thinking that she wouldn't read it until she got home, and then tears would come to her eyes, that someone could love her so purely. She would come in the next day, bursting into my math teacher's room, confessing her love for me in front of the whole class, and we would run off together to Jan's, which was a famous ice cream shop in Bensonhurst. I gave her book back to her. She looked at the front page and handed it right back to me. It was my book. I had signed my own book. She giggled at my mistake, not maliciously, but it still broke my heart. Now, if I ever gave my yearbook to someone else to sign, they would read my profession of love and have a good laugh at my expense. I couldn't do it. I put the book back in my bag and never let another person look at it. When I got home, I tried to scribble over my tender words, but you could still see what I had written. This is probably one of the 3 top most embarrassing moments of my life. Why didn't I just throw out the book or burn it? Why didn't I at least rip out the page? I seem to enjoy keeping mementos of people who have humiliated me. Humiliation makes a person humble or gives one humility, which also means grounded or from the earth. I find that interesting because Adam, my name, means man, or also red earth, from the earth. So, humanity in general, and I specifically, should always be humble because we come from the earth and we will all return to it one day. And God has just given me a lot of trinkets to help me remember that by. I don't know if all this atom bashing is humility or just self-hatred. I certainly don't have a problem admitting I am wrong. So, that's something, isn't it, ladies? Need someone to blame? I'm your guy. But whatever this actually is, there are moments of happiness. In fact, as a general rule, whenever I am not thinking about my life, I am happy. I just had an image of myself sitting on the twisted, smoking debris of a train wreck, happily eating a scone and sipping tea. I don't know if this is happiness, but it is happiness to me. I am A.F. Winter, and this has been Confusional Arousals.
Laugh, clown, laugh, playing the scratched up record on the broken phonograph. No one cares, clown, about your inner turmoil as you quickly spiral down. I don't know what the hell this is, it's all just a mess. Wouldn't it be a kick if this is happiness? I have forgotten more than I have ever learned. That's the way things go when my mind's unlatched. I have burned more bridges than I have ever crossed. That's the way things go as I strike the match. So laugh, clown, laugh as you're sitting on the train wreck, still smoking debris, having a scone and a lovely cup of tea. And laugh, clown, laugh as you're dangling from a wire high above the ground, while thinking of the four-leaf clover you've just found. I have forgotten more